Hello, it's me again, the guy that takes so long to record videos that at every video he's with a different hairstyle. Also known as Pedro. Nice to meet you, or nice to see you again, if you're a returning viewer, which I doubt because I have so few viewers. Okay, so I know I'm a little bit late for the party. I've been playing Bayonetta 3 this whole time, and I don't regret the decision at all. But I've been playing Sonic Frontiers for the last 3 weeks or so. I'm already on the third island. I have about 8 hours on my save file, and believe me, I think that's more than enough to feel what the game is about, and I don't think things will change much until I beat it. So yeah, I'm gonna talk about it because I have a lot of things to say. What can I say? I'm really passionate about the character. So yeah, today we're actually talking about Sonic Frontiers, instead of using it as a clickbait title like in my last video, where I talked about Sonic and Zelda again. And by the way, you can check out that video clicking on the card right here. Thank you, bye. And Sonic Frontiers is an okay game at best. You can have fun with it. It's more than what you could say about Sonic Forces or Sonic Boom, but it's just not great. Heck, I wouldn't even say it's good. But funnily enough, the biggest problem with Sonic Frontiers is that it copies Zelda Breath of the Wild. No, really, taking inspiration from Breath of the Wild could definitely work for Sonic. But after playing the game a bit, it looks like Sonic Team or Sega or whoever was in charge took a look at Breath of the Wild when it launched and simply decided to mod Sonic Team. Let me explain what I mean. By the way, I will go into this assuming you already know a bit of Breath of the Wild and Sonic, so I don't waste my time explaining absolutely everything about those games. In Sonic Frontiers, Sonic finds himself stuck on this archipelago called Starfall Islands, home to the ruins of a highly advanced ancient civilization called the Ancients. Yeah, very creative there, sir. But the civilization kind of vanished mysteriously, just like, you know, the Sheikah from The Legend of Zelda. Those ancients in Sonic Frontiers built all those portals you find around the world that go to the cyberspace. These are in concept the exactly same thing from the shrines of Breath of the Wild. That is, a short, self-contained segment with a familiar experience to the series. In the case of Zelda, it's the more puzzle-based tempos of the classic titles. And in the case of Sonic Frontiers, it's the more well-known level format from the past games in the series, known as the Boost formula. They even go into the extent of making these have recognizable skins like Green Hill or Chemical Plant. Also in Sonic Frontiers, you have to fight these 4 giant bosses called the Titans that were created by that ancient civilization that I talked about, to be ridden by 4 warriors to fight an evil force, but were corrupted by it instead. Does that sound familiar to you? Yeah, that's Breath of the Wild all over again. Sonic Frontiers also introduced these kind of precursors to the Chao called Cocos that are basically Koroks. I know that they are based on a different kind of Japanese myth or folklore. And while the means to getting the Cocos are not the same as getting the Koroks, the sort of super quick overworld puzzles you have to solve in order to get the Koroks in Breath of the Wild are still present in Sonic Frontiers. And besides making stop to a crowd solve them, these puzzles are what unlocks your map. And here the issues of simply copying Breath of the Wild with Sonic start to appear and become a problem in itself. These type of puzzles don't work with the design philosophy of Sonic the Hedgehog. I already said that you basically have to stop dead to solve them, but they are also so basic that they are just boring after a while. How is this fun? I know that hedgehogs run on wheels like hamsters, but what is this doing here, man? Same goes for the combat and mini-bosses. You have to stop running to engage in combat, and these encounters are shallow as a kid's pool. Sure, they look flashy, especially with the big bosses, but they suffer a lot from jankiness and a general lack of polish in the controls. I simply didn't have the willpower to fight the enemies. I would just avoid combat as much as I could, as it's not rewarding at all to do so. Man, Sonic Frontiers is such a mess of concepts and ideas, and I think they really didn't consider if they fit together or not, that it's just a boring mess of a game. Honestly, I wish they would just wait a little more and copy Super Mario Odyssey instead of Breath of the Wild. Besides already being a quote-unquote open zone game like Sonic, And despite Sonic Team making a bigger deal of this, like it's some new thing, it's not. Super Mario Odyssey knows that simply putting Mario in a world like Breath of the Wild would not work, because the fun in Mario is not about solving puzzles, but maneuvering Mario around. So instead, in Mario Odyssey we have what I call environmental puzzles, and not traditional ones, like in Breath of the Wild or Sonic Frontiers. For example, I see a shiny thing over a cliff, but how will I make it there? Not by solving some basic brain teaser that will open the path to it. No, but by figuring out, based on Mario's moveset, my own skill and using the terrain around me to jump around and get it. And holy shit, that was a puzzle in itself. That's something that could work wonders with Sonic's classic physics and momentum-based gameplay. But Sonic Frontiers just go the opposite way and actually stop you from trying to do that. Especially in the second island with these f***ing walls. Let me run over the wall, goddammit! And I won't even dare to cover all the jankiness this game has. Sonic feels like it's stuck to the ground sometimes, and now your forward movement doesn't carry to your jump at all, making you lose all your speed every time you jump. It's super weird. I really don't care that much that the graphics on Sonic Frontiers are uninspired and look like a fan game using Unreal Engine default assets or all the pop-ins that people are complaining all over the place. And even if for the first time in like a decade or so the story is actually interesting for once and the characters feel and sound like actual characters, I still don't care if the game is not fun to play. And look, I see a lot of potential in putting Sonic in an open environment like this, but it has to play with the strengths of this character, man. Sonic Team said that Frontiers will be the basis for the future of Sonic games from now on, and I hope they can polish this formula to finally be great, but as it stands right now, I cannot recommend this game to anyone, fan or not. And even then, I already made promises like this before. Remember Lost World? I thought the parkour system on that game was the beginning of something great, but they ditch it on the next game. I just don't have the faith on Sega or Sonic Team anymore. I'm sorry if this video is too negative for your taste. It's not my usual kind of video. I try to stay positive most of the time, but I love these characters, believe me. I want Sonic to succeed. I just think Sega doesn't know how to anymore. So I'm gonna finish this video off on a bright note. Okay. So I'm gonna finish this video off on a bright note, and I wanna describe to you guys what my perfect Sonic game would be like. I don't think it's a hot take at all, but it should be fun. So it's been said to death before, but fans know more about what makes Sonic great than Sega at this point. You must have heard of a game by the name of Sonic Utopia. It is super fun to play even though it's in beta or something, and it already set the basis for a perfect Sonic game. Sonic Utopia is a 3D momentum-based game that puts Sonic in an open zone style green hill. It's just Sonic and his sheer ability to build up speed using slopes and ramps and whatever is available, and using that to move around and reach places that you may think were impossible at first. So anyway, for my concept game, I would just put some stuff around the map to collect, like the moons from Mario Odyssey or the purple coins. I like to imagine that in this concept game, the story revolves around the Chaos Emeralds being broken apart, much like the Monster Emerald in Sonic Adventure and Adventure 2. So you have like 7 zones or areas that you can explore to find all the pieces. Maybe you don't have to collect every piece to move to the next zone, and you can find a boss or two on the way to the end. Collecting all of the pieces from that zone will grant you a Chaos Emerald. And having all 7 of them complete will unlock like a final area or boss, or you can even play with Super Sonic. I don't know, I'm just coming with this as I go along with this script. And they can be everywhere, like in plain sight, up on a hill, on a secret cave, everywhere that can make you feel like you're progressing no matter what. Because one of the biggest problems that I had with Sonic Frontiers was that I felt like I wasn't progressing at all, because I just had to collect all of these tokens for each area to unlock the next segment of the plot. And it was so boring, I felt like, what even is this? And I think you could have some more traditional levels for Sonic that are a callback to the old formula. Mario Odyssey also does this with levels that are usually behind doors, and I think it could work. It could reward players with 1 or 2 pieces. And I think it would be super cool to have like Tails and Knuckles or even Nani playable with unique abilities different from Sonic. But even with just Sonic, I think that would work great. And yeah, I just think that this, if done right, would be the best Sonic game in my opinion. Inspired by Zelda for sure, maybe in tone, lore and world building, but even more so by Super Mario Odyssey in gameplay and design, and more importantly, by what Sonic has always been about. Oh yeah, and I'll totally keep big fishing minigame. It's the best part of Sonic Frontiers. It's just so chill, man, so great. But what about you? What would be your perfect Sonic game? Try and describe it to me in the comments. If you feel like it, you aren't obligated. And see ya next time. Bye.